Ladies and genitals of all genders, is Hex on the verge of breaking out? Folks, in this video, I want to describe to you why technical analysis could lead us to think that Hex is on the verge of doing something incredibly interesting. At the very least, I want to describe what would constitute Hex breaking out bullishly and what would lead me to breathe a great sigh of relief and think that Hex is ready to see further moves to the upside, and what it would take for me to essentially think that the downtrend is perhaps over, how to best maximize the value proposition of Hex. So we got a lot to discuss in this video, not to mention a very funny, at least I find, ironic correlation to Bitcoin that I want to go on to describe with Hex. So folks, if you want to find out more, like and subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. For God's sakes, do it, that way I don't have to keep saying it. And without further ado, let's delve into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, number one, I kind of, first off, need to briefly defend technical analysis, because I often find that some people are throwing the baby out with the bathwater, where people within the Hex community rightly criticize trading for being high risk, but that does not mean that technical analysis is completely useless, because whether we like it or not, technical analysis is essentially being able to read the psychology of the market. And, you know, there are humans in this market, and therefore psychological factors affect the way humans behave, and previous price action can be an indicator of potential future price performance. Not guaranteed, but it can help. So that's why technical analysis is useful. And folks, I'm seeing something tremendously interesting on the TA front with Hex. So folks, look, people are drawing this differently as a descending triangle, descending wedge. It means the same thing. Hex is in a consolidation pattern where we're getting squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And folks, whenever you squeeze like a spring tighter and tighter and tighter, eventually it explodes, where it can either explode to the upside or, like Bitcoin back in 2017, explode to the downside. Either way, we're getting squished tighter and tighter and tighter into our apex here. Now, we're seeing a lot of very interesting things, which is Hex is running up against multiple layers, multiple ways of finding support / resistance. One thing I absolutely love to do, which I find very helpful when timing trend reversals, is I like to find either a moving average, a support band, any kind of support / resistance that held as support and was retested in, especially in our case, a parabolic uptrend. If you find a moving average that holds as support throughout the length of a parabolic uptrend, later on, if we break down from that support level, it's very likely to act as strong resistance, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. We have the 50-day SMA held as support throughout the length of our impulse, now acting as strong resistance. We have our Gaussian band here. We have our EMA ribbons, basically multiple different ways in which you can call support that acted as support throughout the length of our impulse is now, guess what, above us, acting as resistance. So bottom line is, folks, there's multiple ways to call resistance, and there are many layers of resistance above us, but we don't have to trust those indicators. You can just look at the price action, and whether people like it or not, there are humans who look at price and make decisions based off price action in this market. Therefore, again, technical analysis is helpful to understand. We see that there is a clear base of support / resistance here at just about 14 cents, where Hex got above this level, came back down to retest it, held it as support briefly, but broke down below it, then came back up to retest it and got rejected. So, folks, we have a confluence of reasons pointing towards this area acting as strong resistance, basically from 13 cents to 16 cents. So for me to start feeling bullish about Hex, I want to see this continuation of bullish trend reversal with micro higher highs and higher lows continue for me to believe that this is not just a short-term relief rally in the greater downtrend. Because do not get me wrong, folks, we're in a greater downtrend with macro lower highs and lower lows in price action. And so I do bias the bearish scenario in the short term, given that macro price structure. Now we're starting to see some good signs here, some good signs of bullish trend reversal near our apex here. But again, folks, we're near this apex. We still haven't very much broke out. If we can start getting above 14 cents, if we can start spending time above 16 cents, getting daily candles opening and closing, then not only would we have broken above trend lines, moving averages, historically relevant support / resistance indicators, but also we would have put it in a higher high, continuing the bullish trend reversal. So ultimately, folks, to put things in English, 16 cents is what's important here. we start getting daily candles opening and closing above 16 cents, we're continuing the short-term bullish trend, and therefore we have an increased likelihood of continuation of that short-term bullish trend. Now, I want to point out something ironic that I find extremely funny with y'all, because look, you know, Hex is often pointed out to be a far superior version of Bitcoin, which indeed I agree it is. But something that I find very funny to note here is that if we take a look at Bitcoin on the daily, folks, again, one thing I like to do is find moving averages or some kind of support level that's been historically relevant, because again, it's likely to be important in, moving forward in the future. And one of those moving averages is the 50-day simple moving average for Bitcoin. It held as support with the first leg of Bitcoin's parabolic run-up this last 2021. And then once you broke down below, it acted as resistance. Extremely relevant price reactive moving average that kind of marks whether Bitcoin is bullish or bearish, in my opinion. And until we can, you know, spend time above this thing, then in my opinion, Bitcoin is bearish, and at the very least in a precarious state. And so we can see how Bitcoin is currently getting rejected off the 50-day SMA. Just to give you guys a bit of brief TA here with Bitcoin as well. We do seem to be forming this ascending channel. Could be a dead cat bounce. That's why I'm looking out for this green box to hold as support. If we start to break down from, let's say, 37,500, then that would look like a breakdown from an ascending channel, which could look like either a bear flag, dead cat bounce. If we break down from this green box, it ain't good, folks. We could probably retest this low $30,000 region if this green box does not hold as support. At the very least, the likelihood of that greatly increases should we start to lose what the market is telling us to be an important support level that's price reactive. So just as the 50-day SMA for Bitcoin has been very important, so has it been apparently for Hex. I mean, folks, look how well a support level this held during our parabolic uptrend here. Here's support, here's support. Look at this. As soon as we finally lost it after our major kind of blow off top here, parabolic rally, that was basically pretty much the end, folks. And where did we find rejection? Right about there. Where did we find support on the 50-day SMA? Where did we find support on the 50-day SMA? Where did we find rejection off the 50-day SMA? Where did we find support off the 50-day SMA? So rejection 50-day SMA, rejection 50-day SMA. It's almost like this moving average is historically relevant and still relevant in the short term. So I just find it a little bit of ironic that a moving average that's been historically extremely relevant for Bitcoin is also apparently very telling for what's going on with Hex as well. So look, folks, you know, when you're doing TA, you're ultimately looking for a confluence of reasons to believe in whatever, I don't want to say narrative, but in whatever you think price action is going to do. The more things you have pointing in the same direction, the better. So this moving average is just but one example of one way of calling support / resistance, all right? And if you don't believe in indicators, that's fine. But price action at the end of the day is king, and price action is telling us where support and resistance lies. Should we break above 14 cents, then that's a very good sign. Should we start to break above and hold 16 cents, that constitutes a higher high, and therefore we have an increased likelihood of the downtrend possibly reversing. So that's what I'm looking out for with Hex, folks, in terms of when we could be potentially reversing the macro downtrend and when I'm going to be breathing a sigh of relief once we spend time above 16 cents there. As well, folks, look, for those of you who don't know, basically Hex was created to maximize on the long-term potential of hodling. You know, the bigger, larger, and longer you stake, the more interest you earn in Hex. And so there's this new protocol. We recently interviewed one of the developers. I'll leave a link somewhere around so you can check that out after this video, who created this new DApp called Maximus. It's a super interesting idea where you essentially exchange one Hex for one Maxi token, and the Maxi token represents your stake in a pool of Hex, where these guys are trying to pull as much Hex together in a decentralized way on a smart contract, no admin keys, and open up essentially what's one of the largest, if not the largest, Hex, 15-year-long Hex stake ever. And the benefit of participating in this pool is that, again, because there's that bigger base, better bonus, you'll basically get allocation to the stake with the most amount of interest ever being doled out. Not to mention the Hadron, not to mention the doubling on Pulse chain as well. So again, if I can try to summarize here, you're just pooling funds together to open up the largest 15-year-long Hex stake ever. The Maxi token allows you to redeem your principal plus your interest earned after the 15 years is up. In the meanwhile, you can trade the Maxi token whenever you want. And the game theory is that the Maxi token should track the value of the treasury and of the Hex token itself. I mean, why would it not? Because the Maxi token, depending on how much you hold, gives you the right to redeem some proportion of this max length Hex stake. And so should the market value of the Maxi token not track the value of the treasury and the market value of Hex, well, there's an arbitrage opportunity where people could come, scoop in, and buy up Maxi and drive the price up. And if there's ever a premium, there's a reason to drive the price down. But essentially, over time, the Maxi token is likely to continue to track closer and closer the market value of both Hex and the treasury value, which again is constantly accruing interest in both Hex and Hadron on two chains. So very interesting idea. They don't have a sack phase, but they have a mint phase where basically you trade Hex for their token here, the Maxi token. All right, you just go to the maximus.cash. I'll leave a link to their Twitter down below so you guys can do your own research. You connect your MetaMask, and you'll just switch your Hex for Maxi token. There's 9 days left to participate should you choose to participate. So folks, go do your research. I'll leave links for everything down in the description below. I think honestly this is an extremely good excuse to not hold any liquid Hex, because with the Maxi token, again, you have exposure to that max length Hex stake, a huge max length Hex stake, while having the liquidity of the Maxi token, being able to sell whenever you want. Let's say there's a family tragedy 5 years from now and you got some hospital bills you need to pay. Well, you can just sell the Maxi token and then extract value from your max length Hex stake that way without having to emergency end stake. We can see that there's already about just over $10 million worth of Hex in this Hex stake. Again, I think there's roughly 9 days left before this kind of closes up. So folks, make sure you do your research. Again, this contract address is simply to add this to your MetaMask, whatever wallet you're using, so you can see the Maxi token in your wallet. Do not actually send to that function. All right, you have to use their website here, connect your MetaMask, and there's a swap function. Okay, so just don't send to that contract address. So folks, very interesting stuff. I'm personally considering participating myself. Honestly, the only thing that hasn't caused me to ape in quite just yet is I'm currently debating as to what exactly allocation I want to have ready set aside for Pulse Chain and what I want to have set for Maximus. So I have 9 days left to decide myself, but folks, I'll leave links for everything down in the description below so you can do your own research. Make sure you like and subscribe, because if Hex indeed does start to do anything interesting, believe me, we will let you guys know. So folks, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. Links for everything down in the description below. Until next time, take care folks. Hey man, look, I'm just calling to apologize here because look, I saw our most recent video, and I saw what people were saying in the comments, and frankly, it's true. Like, I think, I don't want my good looks to detract from like the video and its content. Like, if you just compare and contrast me and you, I'm showing up fresh, right? Like, I'm showing up to par. And I just think there's a bit of a dichotomy there, a bit of a contrast that people are noticing. And I'm just calling you to debate, how do we address this moving forward, right? Like, I don't want my good looks detracting from the content. You know what I mean?
What did they say? I wasn't really paying attention.
Well, it's just the same old, right? It's the same stuff I've been hearing all my life. Like, he's so good looking. He's so fresh. He's so intelligent. How could he put up with someone like Messin? And I don't want you seeing any of this, right? I don't want you feeling this. So I'm just calling you to see if we can brainstorm ideas as to how we can deal with this moving forward. I don't know how to make myself look worse, right? It's so difficult.
That's true. That's with you being 350 pounds. Imagine.
Hey man, fat. Are you fat phobic? Fat has nothing to do. Beauty is what's on the inside.
You went on a tangent for 10 minutes here, man. I gotta throw in something. I don't know. I gotta has to happen.
Oh, that's very fat phobic of you.